Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another podcast episode of Living Free Joyfully. Here we discuss things that help us find spiritual freedom with joy. So, thank you for tuning in, especially if this is your first time. Thank you so much. I hope you stick around for more. So, today I want to talk about broken hearts. We have all experienced it in some form or another. It may not be from a romantic relationship, which is what we, honestly, what we leap to, what we think of when we think of a broken heart. We think of that man or that woman who did us wrong and who broke our heart, and we were out here crying and doing all kind of stuff. And while that can be the case, and probably most often is the case, there are so many other things that can break our hearts. We got friendships, we got family, we got the loss of loved ones, we got the loss of pets, the loss of jobs, just loss in general, right? So many things can happen to break our hearts. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I have experienced a heartbreak recently. And yes, it was from a romantic relationship. And no, I was not expecting it. And so I have experienced heartbreak before, also from, a romantic relationship, from the loss of a job, from the loss of loved ones. And I was just thinking about the process of it all, right? How I'm getting from the heartbreak to the healing, to the hope, to the wholeness, right? What's the process? What does that look like? Is it the same for all of these types of heartbreaks? Is it different because I'm experiencing different emotions? Am I experiencing different emotions? At one point I was angry, at one point I was sad, at one point I was distraught. I was experiencing all of these feelings. And what really made me think about it was this most recent time. It wasn't anything intentional, right? It wasn't like he did me dirty. It wasn't like I did him dirty. It wasn't like anything specific happened. It was just a mutual decision that we were not for each other. And it was just so different, right? Still heartbreak, still experience, the pain, the anguish, still replaying all those, what if scenarios in my mind, rehearsing what I shoulda, coulda, woulda done, how it would have turned out different if I shoulda, coulda, woulda done that or this or whatever. And so it made me think about the process, right? It made me think about how we get through a heartbreak. And the first thing is we just process it, right? There's nothing else we can do. We have to feel the emotions. We can't stuff them in. We can't shut them in. We have to let it out. We have to cry. We have to shout. We have to bang against the wall. We have to throw pillows. Whatever our release process is, we have to do it. For me, it's crying. For me, it's writing. For me, journaling. Doing these things, podcasts, helps me to process the emotions because I'm not always a feeler, right? I'm a thinker. And so sometimes it takes me a minute to even realize what I am feeling, to even pinpoint the emotion so I can articulate it, so that I can release it, so that I can let it out. And some of you may be just plain feelers, like automatically what you're feeling, how to process it, how to let it go. But some people aren't like that. I applaud y'all. I really wish I could I feel it, right? I feel it at the moment. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my heart and my gut. But I can't always pinpoint it like, oh, this is sadness. This is disappointment. This is whatever, the emotion is. So I have to take time to realize, hey, I was really expecting this thing to go another way. And I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling just plain sad, right? Sometimes just sad is enough. Like, I wanted this to turn out another way, so I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, but I'm just sad because I didn't get what I wanted. And which is fine. I just had to make sure that I process the emotion, that I let it out, that I don't stuff it in, that I process it and get it out. And for however long it takes, I'm not going to let it control me, right? I'm not going to let my emotions take control of my thought pattern, of my behavior, because it's sitting stuck on the inside of me. I have to let it go. So the process, or one step in the process of getting from being brokenhearted to being healed and hopeful and whole, you got to let it out. You got to let that pain out. Yes, it hurts. Of course it hurts. Your heart is broken. Your feelings have been disrupted. Your expectations have not been met. Whatever you are feeling, angry, trustful, you got to let it out, because if you hold it in, how are you going to get healed? It's only going to fester and create a bigger wound, right? It ain't going to help. You got to let it out. You got to let it out. The next step is to let the whole thing go. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. None of this process is easy. Feeling the brokenness, feeling the pain, feeling the loneliness, all of that is not easy either. But this process will help you get to being, whole, so that you can love again. Because that's my purpose, right? I want to be able to love again fully. I want to be able to love again wholly with my whole heart. So I have to go through this step by step, day by day. No time frame, no time limit, right? Just going through the process, right? Which it is, going through the journey. And so the next step is to let it go, which isn't easy. Of course it's not. You got to stop rehearsing those things in your mind. Stop rehearsing what you said, what they said, what he said, what she said, what happened, how you could have done it differently. If you had have done it differently, what would have happened? Stop texting that person, stop going back and trying to close the door or get closure. You just gotta let it go. It's done. It's over. And if God wants to bring it back, He will make it perfectly clear that you should accept that person back, right? He will make it perfectly clear that that person is supposed to come back into your life. But in the meantime, you got to close the door. Getting the closure, it's just gonna hurt. You're gonna hurt even more, because now you're rehearsing, you're thinking, you're getting hopeful about what could be, and no, stop. Don't do it. Do not go there. If you have to delete the number, if you have to unfriend, if you got to block, you got to delete the text messages, the thread, you got to delete the email address, you got to do whatever you got to do in order to get your full healing, in order to make sure that the door is closed. Don't crack it a little bit. Don't shut it just a little bit. Leave that little crack so you can peek through, just in case, right? We always do that just in case kind of thing, because our heart is hurting. We kind of want to see what would happen, just in case we leave that little door open. If we go back for closure, if we go back and say, we could have done this differently, or try again. I've tried again, and it was worse, and it was worse, and it was worse. And now my heart is broken even more. It's now even more painful. Now I'm even more angry. Now I'm even more distrustful. Now my wall is up and my guard is up even more, because I just said leave it alone when I had the chance. I just did not let it go. I just kept going back to it. I kept rehearsing it. And even when I, cut the person off, close the door, delete the numbers, the text, everything, I'm rehearsing it in my mind. I'm like, okay, now if this and I happen to run into him or run into her in the streets, because this could be romantic or friendships, whatever. I'm going to say this, and this. And then, now you romanticizing the past. Now you thinking about all the good times, not forgetting, you're forgetting all of the other things that happened along the way that led to the heartbreak. And now that I have a different perspective of heartbreak, right? Because before I was just angry, like I was so hurt, I was so mad. And now this time I'm not mad, I'm just hurting, right? Because I wanted to be with this person, I wanted this job, I wanted this thing, and it just didn't work out, right? It just was not for me. And now that I have a different perspective, it's not so closed off, right? Even though I am a little bit angry, right? I wanted that thing, I wanted that person, but it just wasn't for me. So now I have to let it go, which is hard, because when we're in love with the thing, when we want a thing and we got it, right? We're envisioning our future. We're envisioning, we're talking about it, right? You're thinking long term, you're planning, you're doing all these things. and then it stops. So now you have to grieve the loss of the relationship. You have to grieve the loss of the dreams, the future, the plans that you've made with this person, with that job, for what, with that friend, whatever led to the heartbreak. You got to grieve it. But you also have to let it go. You have to. It may come back. It may not. But in the meantime, we have to let it go. We have to stop rehearsing it. What happened, what didn't happen, what we could have done, what we should have done, what we would have done is in the past. None of that stuff is going to help. It's only going to lead us to more worry, more anxiety, more stress. And we're just reliving that hurt over and over again. Why? We got to let it go. Now, those memories pop up, right? You might hear a song, you might smell a scent, you might go somewhere and you think about it. Okay, those thoughts come, they don't have to stay. Those thoughts may come, but you can say, okay, now I'm gonna think about something else. Now I'm gonna think about another memory that made me happy. I'm gonna think about something else that makes me hopeful. I'm gonna think about something else that's going to get me on the path to healing. So that's how we let it go. Slowly but surely, the thoughts still gonna come, but they may not stay as long, right? Or they're popping up fewer and fewer, less and less. And then eventually you won't think about it anymore as much, right? You might think about it here and there, but then you've trained your brain, right? To say, okay, this memory is painful, this memory is hurtful. I can, if you want to dwell on it for a little bit, okay, but you gotta let it go. Release it and let it go. The next thing you have to do, if this person really, really, really hurts you, if this thing really, really, really hurts you, so this isn't going to apply in every heartbreak scenario, because, the loss of a loved one, like death, you may have to forgive them. I don't know, but maybe not. The loss of a job, you may have to forgive someone, maybe not. But this is the thing that you may have to do, and which is one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion, is forgive. Forgive that person, that thing that hurt you. And why, right? Because my first heartbreak, my first really, really intense heartbreak, I was so mad. I did not want him to get any compassion, no understanding, no mercy, nothing from me, right? But that was preventing me from fully letting go. That was preventing me from fully moving on and allowing someone else to love me in the way I deserve. Period. I had to understand that forgiveness was key to me moving on. And this might be a little controversial because some people don't believe in forgiveness. But I am a believer. I am a follower of Christ. So I believe in forgiving, not just because he commands me to, but because it has freed me. It has allowed me to recapture my joy, right? It's allowed me to move on and love someone else with my full heart, without the judgment or the preconceived notions of me being hurt, right? It allowed me to take that full risk, dive in head first, and experience the love and the healing and the transformation that I needed at that time. But if I hadn't forgave that ex, if I hadn't forgave him for intentionally hurting me, for, doing those things that really, really hurt me and made me angry and made my heart hard, if I hadn't forgave him and said, okay, or understood what happened, right? Understood his background, why he behaved the way he did. And it's not always possible, right? You might not always have that information. That's why I'm saying this isn't always a thing in every circumstance. But if at all possible, I really encourage you to try with your whole heart to forgive that person, because you have received mercy, you have received understanding, you have received compassion, you have received those things, and people have forgiven you for your slights, for your intentional mistakes, or your intentional pain that you have inflicted upon other people. People have forgiven you. People have, even if they haven't communicated it to you, even if they haven't said, I forgive you, which I don't know if is truly necessary, right? As long as I do it in my heart, I don't have to talk to you again. I don't have to reconcile with you. I don't have to be your friend. All I have to do is let all of that hurt, that pain, that thing go, and do it with mercy, do it with compassion, do it with the understanding that I am no longer holding on to this hurt, because that hurt hardens my heart. That hurt controls me, my emotions, and my behaviors, and I will not allow that. That will not happen. So what I'm going to do is forgive you so that my heart can be healed, my heart can be whole, and my heart can be hopeful so that it can love again, which is what I really want. This is what I need. I need to be loved again. I need to love again. And the only way that I can do that is to fully and truly forgive that person that hurt me. Forgive them for their miscomings. Forgive them for their mistakes. Forgive them for the pain that they inflicted. Forgive them for the words that they said that caused pain. Forgive them for their actions. Forgive them for all of it. And then move on. I don't got to be your friend. Like I said before, I don't even got to be in contact with you. I ain't even got to tell you I forgive you. You can be all over there living your life and doing whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. But I'm going to be over here living in my healing, living in my wholeness, living in the love that I am manifesting. Okay, I'm not. You're forgiven. Have a nice life. And the next thing that we need to do is to have that compassion, right? In order to forgive, we have to have compassion. We have to come from a place of mercy and understanding that if we don't do the things that we need to do in order to move forward in love, in order to have love, then what do you want? Like, do you want to love again? Do you want to be wholehearted, fully in love? Do you want to be able to embrace this new love, to embrace this new job, to move forward with your whole heart, knowing that because of this mercy, because of this compassion, because of this understanding that you have gained, you'll be able to better love. You'll be able to do more in that job. You'll be able to perform better. You'll be able to work harder. You'll be able to love even more deeply, I guess, because you have understanding, because you're coming at it from a different mindset. And this does take a mindset shift. This takes time. Like I said before, there is no time frame. There is no time limit on this process. And the steps aren't in any particular order. You can come from letting it go to forgiveness, to compassion, to, processing. It can all be in flux. It could all happen in one day. It could all happen in one after the other. There's no real, order. But these are the things that we need to do in order to get to the wholeness, in order to get to the fullness, in order to get to the hope that we can love again, that we will love again, that we will have it in our hands, in our hearts, in our lives, right? The compassion is so necessary, right? Because in the future, you're going to be more understanding, you're going to be more merciful, you're going to give more grace. And in return, you're going to get that. You're going to get that compassion. You're going to get that grace. You're going to get that mercy that we all need in order to live, because we all make mistakes, right? We're going to disappoint someone at some point in our lives, and someone is going to disappoint us. And it may not be intentional. It may be intentional, but we're going to have that understanding. We're going to have to understand why that person is behaving that way. We're going to have to understand ourselves. We're going to have to give the compassion. I'm not saying stick around if somebody's being abusive and intentionally hurting you. No, I'm just saying have compassion for those who aren't intentionally doing it, right? The hurt is the hurt, whether it was intentional or not. The hurt is the hurt, no matter what happened. But we can still have compassion even in the hurt. We can still have mercy and grace even in the hurt. Because, like I said before, we have received that when we were hurt and we hurt someone else, somebody gave us compassion. Somebody was merciful to us. Someone graced us. And somebody said, hey, I know you're hurt, but you can't do this. And so that's the same kind of compassion, that's the same kind of mercy and the same kind of grace that we need to have for someone else, for another romantic relationship, for a friendship, especially in romantic and friendships, right? Romantic relationships and friendships. We need to have that understanding. We need to have that communication open and honest and transparent and honestly loving, so that we can move forward, so that we can have that full relationship that we deserve. We are deserving of so much more. Why would we let a broken heart keep us from everything that God has for us? Why would we let a broken heart keep us bound, keep us separated, keep us away from the fullness of joy, from the fullness of the love that God has for us, right? Not just here not just up in heaven, but here on earth, right? We have the ability to fully love. We have the ability to feel all the love that God has for us. And if we hold on to the hurt, if we hold on to the pain, if we hold on to the anger and the disappointment and the sadness and the frustration and the loneliness and the weariness, how is that going to serve us? Don't we deserve more? Don't we deserve better? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And no matter what type of heartbreak you have experienced, if you experience multiple heartbreaks, if you've only experienced one, if you haven't experienced any, thank God for you. I pray you don't experience it. It hurts. But keep going. You got to keep going day by day, step by step, walking through the process, allowing yourself to feel the emotions but not be led by them, allowing yourself to be sober-minded, to be watchful, to be prayerful, to be able to speak to someone, if that's a friend, if that's a therapist, if that's a pastor, if that's in prayer, or a combination of them or all of them. You have to be able to let it out, right? You have to be able to process it. You have to be able to let that thing go. You can't hold on to it. You got to be able to move on, move forward, right? And you have to be able to forgive so you don't hold on to the hurt. And you have to be able to be compassionate and understanding in order to do most of all this stuff, because kindness is great, right? I'm not talking about being nice. I'm not talking about being polite. I'm talking about being kind. I'm talking about being honest. I'm talking about being transparent. And I'm talking about having great communication, because we deserve these things, right? We have lived our lives, going along, getting bits and pieces. And I'm tired of the bits. I'm tired of the pieces. I want the whole. I want the healing. I want the hope. I want it all. I want everything that God has promised me. And I'm going to get it, because I'm determined to let this go. I'm determined to go through the process, even though it hurts. I'm determined to allow myself to be uncomfortable for a little bit so I can be comfortable for a long while, right? Because the promise isn't that I'm going to be uncomfortable. The promise is that I'm going to be the head, not the tail. So if I'm sitting up here as a head, if I'm sitting up here as the lender, if I'm sitting up here as above all ways, then I'm willing to be, beneath for a little while so that I can be above for always. Okay? So I hope y'all got something out of this. If you have experienced heartbreak, I know what it feels like. Know you are not alone. Know that you can talk to someone. You should talk to someone, and that there is hope. You can love again. You will love again, and it will be the right one this time, right? It'll be the one that God has for you, the one that was for you. That's for you, right? And you will love again, the right one next time. You will have that great friendship again, but it's going to be the right one next time. You're going to have that awesome job again, but it's going to be the right one next time, right? You'll be able to remember that loved one without the pain, without the grief, right? Eventually. It's a process. Let's walk through the process. We're going to go from broken hearts to healed, to hopeful, to whole, okay? That's what we're doing. And thank you all for joining me for another podcast episode. If you enjoyed this, please like it, please share, please subscribe, please comment. I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.